Maya's hands trembled slightly as she prepared the morning espresso. It was 6:45 on a Tuesday morning, and Cafe Luminosa was just beginning to fill with the early rush of business professionals seeking their caffeine fix before heading to offices in the financial district. The upscale cafe, with its marble countertops and imported Italian espresso machines, was far nicer than anywhere Maya had worked before. She had been lucky to get this job 3 months ago, lucky that the manager had overlooked her lack of fine dining experience and focused instead on her genuine warmth with customers and her quick ability to learn. She needed this job, desperately. The pay was better than the diner where she had worked previously, and the tips from the wealthy clientele could sometimes double her daily earnings. With rent due in a week and her savings account dangerously close to zero, Maya could not afford any mistakes, any reasons for her manager to question whether she was the right fit for Luminosa's refined atmosphere, which was why she had spent 45 minutes that morning carefully applying makeup to cover the bruise on her cheekbone and the fingerprint marks on her wrist, which was why she had worn a long-sleeved black blouse despite the late spring warmth, which was why she kept her smile bright and her movements efficient, giving no one any reason to look at her too closely, to ask questions she could not answer. The bell above the door chimed, and Maya glanced up from the espresso machine. Her breath caught slightly, the way it always did when he walked in. Dante Moretti. He came in every morning at precisely 6:45, ordered a double espresso black, and sat at the corner table by the window for exactly 20 minutes while he read the financial news on his tablet. He always left a $50 bill for a $6 coffee, and he never made small talk beyond a polite good morning. Maya knew who he was. Everyone who worked at Luminosa knew who Dante Moretti was. The manager had made it very clear during Maya's first week that Mr. Moretti was to receive perfect service, that his coffee was to be prepared exactly to his specifications, and that his privacy was to be respected absolutely. He was, the manager had explained in hushed tones, a very important man with very important business interests throughout the city. What the manager had not said, but what everyone understood, was that Dante Moretti's business interests included things that were never discussed in polite society, that the impeccably dressed man in the custom Italian suits was rumored to control half the construction contracts in the city, that politicians sought his favor, that rivals who crossed him had a tendency to relocate to other cities very suddenly. Maya had been terrified of him at first, but 3 months of serving him his morning espresso had taught her that he was unfailingly polite, that he never raised his voice, and that his dark eyes, though intense, held a certain kindness when he thanked her for his coffee. She had begun to look forward to his brief good morning, to the way he always left that generous tip that helped her pay her bills. Today, Dante Moretti walked in wearing a charcoal gray suit that probably cost more than Maya made in 6 months. His dark hair was perfectly styled, his jawline sharp, his presence commanding in a way that made other customers instinctively give him space. 2 men in dark suits followed him in, taking positions near the door. His security, Maya had learned. They came every morning, never ordered anything, and watched the room with the focused attention of people trained to spot threats. "Good morning, Miss Thompson," Dante said as he approached the counter, his voice deep and smooth with just a trace of an Italian accent that made her name sound more elegant than it was. "Good morning, Mr. Moretti," Maya replied, reaching for the espresso cup. "Your usual?" "Please." He pulled out his wallet, extracting the crisp $50 bill that would go into the tip jar she shared with the other morning staff. Maya turned to the espresso machine, going through the familiar ritual of preparing his coffee exactly as he preferred it. She was aware of him watching her, the way he always did. But today, his gaze felt different, more focused, more intense. She concentrated on keeping her movements smooth and professional, on not letting her nervousness show. "Here you are," she said, setting the small cup on the counter. "Perfect temperature, just as you like it." Dante picked up the cup, but instead of heading to his usual table, he remained at the counter. Maya felt her pulse quicken. He never lingered. He always took his coffee and moved to his corner table. What was different today? "Miss Thompson," he said quietly, his dark eyes fixed on her face. "That bruise on your cheek, it was not there yesterday." Maya's blood turned to ice. Her hand instinctively moved toward her face, toward the place where she had so carefully applied concealer and foundation that morning. I don't know what you mean, Mr. Moretti. I'm not—" "And those marks on your wrist," he continued, his voice still quiet but with an edge of something hard beneath the politeness. "Also new? You are left-handed, so you favor that hand when working. The sleeve has shifted several times while you prepared my coffee. Finger-shaped bruises, I believe. 4 of them. Maya's throat tightened. She glanced toward the kitchen, wondering if she could excuse herself, claim she needed to check on something. But Dante's gaze held her in place, and she found she could not look away from those dark eyes that saw far too much. "I'm fine," she managed to say, the lie tasting bitter. "Really, it's nothing. I fell. Clumsy of me." "You fell yesterday as well?" Dante asked. "Because yesterday morning when you served my coffee, there was a faint yellow bruise on your left forearm. Older, fading, but still visible to someone who was looking." He had been looking. The realization sent a confusing mix of emotions through Maya. Fear that her carefully constructed facade was crumbling. Relief that someone had noticed. Panic about what would happen if she admitted the truth. "Mr. Moretti, I appreciate your concern, but I really am fine," Maya said, trying to inject firmness into her voice. "Now, if you will excuse me, I have other customers." "Who did this to you?" The question was soft, almost gentle. But there was something in Dante's tone that made Maya's skin prickle, something dark and dangerous that suggested the man standing before her in the expensive suit was capable of violence that would make her situation seem tame by comparison. "No one," Maya whispered. "Please, I need this job. I can't. Please don't make this a thing. I'm fine. Everything is fine." Dante was silent for a long moment, his eyes searching her face. Then he nodded slowly and picked up his espresso. "Of course, Miss Thompson. Forgive me for overstepping. I notice things, and I notice when someone is hurting." He turned and walked to his corner table, and Maya released a breath she had not realized she was holding. Her hands were shaking as she turned to serve the next customer, a businesswoman in a power suit who ordered a cappuccino and barely looked up from her phone. Maya tried to focus on her work, on the steady stream of morning customers, on the familiar rhythm of taking orders and preparing drinks. But she was acutely aware of Dante Moretti sitting at his corner table, his eyes occasionally drifting in her direction. After exactly 20 minutes, he stood, nodded politely to Maya, and left, his security following him out the door. The rest of Maya's shift passed in a blur. She served lattes and croissants, wiped down tables, smiled at customers who never really saw her. When her shift ended at 2 in the afternoon, she collected her share of the tips, counting the money carefully. $73. Not bad for a Tuesday. Combined with her hourly wage, it would help her make rent, would buy groceries for the week. She changed out of her work clothes in the tiny staff bathroom, pulling on jeans and a hoodie despite the warmth of the afternoon. The long sleeves felt safer somehow, like armor against the world. As she left through the back entrance, Maya checked her phone and felt her stomach drop. 3 missed calls from Marcus, 2 text messages demanding to know where she was, why she was not home yet, whether she was deliberately ignoring him. Marcus, her boyfriend of 2 years, the man who had been so charming when they first met, so attentive and loving, the man who had gradually become controlling, then cruel, then violent. The man who had given her the bruises she had tried so hard to hide. Maya knew she should leave him. Her sister Jasmine had been telling her that for months, offering to help her, find her own place, to escape. But leaving required money Maya did not have, required courage she could not seem to find. And Marcus always apologized afterward, always promised it would never happen again, always had reasons why she had driven him to lose his temper. Her phone buzzed with another text. "Where are you? You were supposed to be home an hour ago." Maya typed back quickly, her fingers trembling. "Shift ran late, on my way now." The walk to the apartment she shared with Marcus took 20 minutes. 20 minutes during which Maya tried to prepare herself, tried to gauge what mood he would be in, tried to anticipate whether tonight would be good or bad. She climbed the 3 flights of stairs to their small 1-bedroom apartment, her heart pounding as she unlocked the door. Marcus was sitting on the couch, a beer in his hand, his eyes fixed on the television. He was handsome in a conventional way, with sandy blonde hair and blue eyes that had once looked at Maya with what she thought was love. Now those eyes were cold as they turned toward her. "You're late," he said flatly. "I'm sorry. We had a rush right at the end of my shift. I got here as fast as I could." "That's what you always say." Marcus stood up, crossing the small living room to stand in front of her. He was 6 feet tall, broad-shouldered, and Maya felt small as he loomed over her. "You know I don't like it when you're late. Makes me wonder what you're really doing. Who you're really with." "I was at work, Marcus. You can call the café and verify my schedule." "Don't tell me what I can do," he snapped, his voice rising. "And take off that ridiculous hoodie. It's 75 degrees out. You look stupid. Maya hesitated, knowing what would happen if she refused, knowing what would be visible if she complied. Her hesitation proved to be the wrong choice. Marcus grabbed her arm, the same wrist he had grabbed the night before, applying pressure to the existing bruises. Maya gasped in pain. I said take it off, Marcus repeated, his voice low and dangerous. Okay, Maya said quickly, pulling away and removing the hoodie with shaking hands. She stood there in her tank top, the bruises on her arms now visible, and watched Marcus's eyes narrow. You didn't cover those very well, he observed. People at work see them? No, Maya lied. No one noticed anything. Good. Because you know what would happen if you went around telling people I hurt you, if you made me look bad. His hand shot out, gripping her chin, forcing her to look at him. You know that would be a very stupid thing to do, right, Maya? Yes, she whispered, I know. Good girl. He released her and returned to the couch. Make me dinner, I'm hungry. Maya fled to the kitchen, blinking back tears as she pulled ingredients from the refrigerator. This was her life now, walking on eggshells, hiding bruises, pretending everything was fine. She did not know how she had gotten here, how the sweet man she had fallen for had become this person who hurt her and controlled her and made her feel worthless. But what she did know was that she could not keep living like this. Something had to change. She just had no idea what. The next morning, Maya arrived at Café Luminosa at 6, giving herself extra time to prepare for the morning rush. She had spent an hour on her makeup, carefully concealing a new bruise on her upper arm where Marcus had grabbed her while she cooked dinner. Her manager, a thin woman named Patricia, who cared more about efficiency than employee welfare, barely glanced at her as she tied on her apron and began setting up the espresso station. At 6:45 exactly, the bell above the door chimed. Dante Moretti walked in, impeccably dressed as always, his security detail following at a discreet distance. Maya's heart rate increased as he approached the counter, those dark eyes focusing on her with an intensity that made her feel exposed. Good morning, Miss Thompson, he said politely. Good morning, Mr. Moretti, your usual. Please. He paused, then added quietly, and perhaps you could make one for yourself as well. Take your break. Sit with me for a moment. Maya blinked in surprise. I'm not sure I'm allowed to. Patricia, Dante called to the manager, who was organizing pastries in the display case. The woman hurried over immediately, her professional smile firmly in place. Mr. Moretti, how can I help you? Miss Thompson has been providing excellent service for the past 3 months, Dante said smoothly. I would like to give her a small bonus for her attentiveness. I will require her to sit with me for a few minutes while I explain some particular coffee preferences for a private event I'm hosting. This will not interfere with the morning service, as your other staff can handle the current customer volume. It was not a request. The tone was polite, the words courteous, but Patricia understood immediately that this was something that would happen. Of course, Mr. Moretti. Maya, please prepare Mr. Moretti's espresso and one for yourself, and take 15 minutes. Maya's hands shook slightly as she prepared 2 cups of espresso. What was happening? Why did Dante Moretti want to sit with her? Had she done something wrong? She carried both cups to his corner table where he waited, gesturing for her to sit across from him. Drink, he said gently, pushing 1 cup toward her. You look like you need it. Maya wrapped her hands around the small cup, grateful for something to hold, something to focus on besides those penetrating dark eyes. Mr. Moretti, if this is about yesterday, I already told you I'm fine. You are not fine, Dante interrupted, his voice quiet but firm. And we both know it. The question is whether you are going to continue lying to yourself about your situation, or whether you're going to accept help when it is offered. I don't need help, Maya said. Automatically, the words hollow even to her own ears. Everyone needs help sometimes, Miss Thompson, even me. Dante took a sip of his espresso, his gaze never leaving her face. Let me tell you a story. When I was 14 years old, my mother was in a relationship with a man who hurt her. He was not my father, who had died when I was young. He was a man who seemed charming at first, who promised her security and love. But behind closed doors, he was cruel, violent. Maya's breath caught. She had not expected this, had not expected this powerful, dangerous man to share something so personal. My mother hid the bruises. Dante continued. She made excuses. She believed his promises that he would change. And I, young and foolish, believed her when she said everything was fine. Until one night I came home early from school and heard her screaming. I found him with his hands around her throat. "What did you do?" Maya whispered. "I grabbed a baseball bat and I broke his arm," Dante said calmly. "And then I called my uncle, who came with several associates, and made it very clear that this man would never touch my mother again. Would, in fact, never be seen in our neighborhood again. My mother was angry with me at first, said I had overstepped, that I did not understand the complexities of adult relationships. But years later, she thanked me. She said I had saved her life that night, because if I had not intervened, she might not have found the strength to leave on her own." Dante leaned forward slightly, his voice dropping even lower. "I am telling you this story, Miss Thompson, because I see in you what I saw in my mother all those years ago, the careful makeup, the long sleeves in warm weather, the way you flinch when someone moves too quickly, the exhaustion in your eyes that comes from constantly calculating how to avoid making someone angry. And I am telling you that you do not have to live this way." Tears pricked at Maya's eyes. She blinked them back furiously, not wanting to break down in the middle of the cafe, not wanting to admit to this near stranger what she had been too ashamed to fully admit to herself. "You don't understand. It's complicated. I don't have anywhere else to go. I can't afford my own place, and I can't ask my family for help because I'm ashamed. Because they told me Marcus was bad news and I didn't listen, and now I can't admit they were right." "Pride is expensive," Dante said. "It costs you your safety, your peace, your future. Is that price worth paying?" "What am I supposed to do?" Maya asked, her voice breaking. "Just leave? Walk away from 2 years of my life? Start over with nothing?" "Yes," Dante said simply. "That is exactly what you are supposed to do, and you will not be starting with nothing. You will be starting with your freedom, your safety, your dignity. Those are not nothing, Miss Thompson. Those are everything." He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a business card, sliding it across the table. "This is the number for a women's shelter that specializes in helping women leave abusive situations. They provide temporary housing, counseling, legal assistance, job placement services. They will help you create a safety plan, help you leave when you are ready, help you build a new life." Maya stared at the card, her vision blurring with tears. "Why are you doing this? Why do you care?" "Because I know what it looks like when someone is drowning," Dante said. "And I know what it looks like when someone is too proud to reach for the lifeline. Take the card, Miss Thompson. You do not have to call today. You do not have to make any decisions right now. But when you are ready, when you decide that you deserve better than what you are accepting, that number will help you take the first step." Maya picked up the card with trembling fingers, tucking it into her apron pocket. "Thank you," she whispered. Dante stood, leaving 3 $100 bills on the table. "For your excellent service," he said formally, his voice returning to its usual polite distance. "I hope to see you tomorrow morning, Miss Thompson. Same time, same coffee." He left the cafe, his security detail following, and Maya sat alone at the corner table, her espresso cooling in front of her, the weight of the business card in her pocket feeling like both a burden and a promise. The next 3 days followed a similar pattern. Dante would come in at 6:45, order his espresso, leave his generous tip. But now, when he looked at Maya, there was a question in his eyes. "Have you called? Are you safe? Are you ready?" And Maya would look away, shame and fear warring in her chest, the business card still tucked in her wallet, unread phone number waiting for her to find the courage to dial. On the 4th day, everything changed. Marcus had been particularly volatile the night before, angry about a work situation that had nothing to do with Maya, but for which he blamed her anyway. His temper had resulted in Maya having a split lip that no amount of makeup could fully disguise. She had called in sick to work, too ashamed to show her face, but Patricia had denied the request, saying they were short-staffed and Maya needed to come in unless she was literally hospitalized. So Maya had done her best with ice and concealer, had worn her largest sunglasses into work, had hoped that maybe Dante Moretti would skip his morning coffee today, would give her 1 day to recover before those knowing eyes saw her latest failure to escape. But at 6:45, like clockwork, the bell chimed, and Dante Moretti walked in. His eyes went to her immediately, to the sunglasses she was wearing indoors, to the slight swelling of her bottom lip, to the way she was moving stiffly, favoring her left side where Marcus had shoved her into the kitchen counter. Dante's expression did not change. He simply walked to the counter, his security detail following, and waited for Maya to acknowledge him. "Good morning, Mr. Moretti," Maya said quietly, her voice hoarse. "Your usual?" "No," Dante said, "and not today. Today I would like you to take your break, now. Immediately. And I would like you to come with me. I can't. I'm working. Patricia won't. Patricia, Dante called, his voice carrying a sharp edge that made the manager appear instantly. Miss Thompson requires the rest of the day off. Paid. I will make a donation to Café Luminosa to compensate for any inconvenience this causes. Mr. Moretti, I'm not sure that's... Patricia began. It was not a request. Dante pulled out his wallet and placed 5 $100 bills on the counter. Miss Thompson is leaving now. If there is any problem with this arrangement, you may call my office to discuss it. But she is leaving. Now. Patricia paled and nodded quickly. Of course, Mr. Moretti. Maya, please take the day. Take care of yourself. Maya felt frozen, caught between terror and relief, between the life she knew and the uncertainty of whatever was about to happen. Dante's hand was gentle but firm on her elbow, guiding her toward the door. Please, she whispered. Please don't make this harder. I don't know what you think you're doing, but I am taking you somewhere safe, Dante said quietly. I am giving you the choice you have been too afraid to give yourself. Now, Miss Thompson, you can get in my car willingly, or I can have my men carry you. But either way, you are not going back to whoever did this to you. Not today. Not ever again if I have any say in the matter. One of Dante's security men opened the back door of a black sedan idling at the curb. Dante waited, his hand still on Maya's elbow, his dark eyes filled with something that looked almost like pleading beneath the command. Why are you doing this? Maya asked again, tears streaming down her face now, the sunglasses unable to hide them. Because someone did it for my mother, Dante said, and because I cannot stand by and watch someone destroy you piece by piece when I have the power to stop it. Now, please, Bella, get in the car. Let me help you. Let me give you the safety you deserve. Maya looked back at the cafe, at the life she had been trying so desperately to maintain. Then she looked at Dante Moretti, at this dangerous man who was offering her something she had stopped believing existed, genuine protection, genuine help, genuine care from someone who expected nothing in return. She got in the car. The drive took 20 minutes, winding through downtown streets until they reached a quiet residential neighborhood Maya had never visited. The car pulled up in front of a beautiful brownstone building with a small, discreet sign that read, Safe Harbor Women's Center. This is the shelter I told you about, Dante explained as the car stopped. They are expecting you. They have a room ready. They will provide you with clothing, toiletries, food, counseling. They will help you obtain a restraining order if you wish. They will help you find permanent housing. And most importantly, they will keep you safe while you begin to rebuild your life. Maya stared at the building, her heart pounding. What about my things? My clothes, my documents, Give me your address and a list of what you need, Dante said. My people will retrieve your belongings while you are safely here. Your boyfriend, the word dripped with disgust, will not be there when they collect your items. I will make certain of that. How? Maya asked, though part of her did not want to know the answer. That is not something you need to worry about, Dante said firmly. What you need to worry about is walking through that door and accepting the help that is being offered. What you need to worry about is choosing yourself, choosing your safety, choosing a future where you are not hiding bruises and making excuses for why someone who claims to love you causes you pain. He reached out and gently removed Maya's sunglasses, revealing her swollen lip and the shadow of a bruise on her cheekbone. His jaw tightened, and for a moment Maya saw the dangerous man beneath the polished exterior, the man who controlled criminal enterprises and made people disappear. I'm going to ask you a question, Dante said quietly, and I want you to answer me honestly. Do you love him? This man who hurts you. Do you truly love him, or do you simply fear him? Maya opened her mouth to give the automatic answer, the one she had been telling herself for months. But, looking into Dante's eyes, seeing the genuine concern there, she found she could not lie. I don't know anymore, she whispered. I loved who he used to be, or who I thought he was. But now? Now I mostly feel afraid and tired. So tired of being afraid. Then stop, he said simply. Stop being afraid. Let someone else handle the things you cannot handle alone. Let these people help you. Let me help you. You do not have to fight this battle by yourself anymore, Myas. It was the first time he had used her first name. Hearing it in his voice with such gentleness broke something inside her. The wall she had built around her heart, the pretense that she was fine, the stubborn pride that had kept her trapped, it all crumbled. Okay, Maya said, her voice barely a whisper. Okay, I'll go inside. I'll let them help me." Dante smiled then, a genuine smile that transformed his face from dangerous to almost kind. "Good. That is very good, Bella. You are braver than you know." He got out of the car and walked around to open her door, offering his hand to help her out. A woman was waiting at the entrance of the shelter, a black woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a gentle smile. "Miss Thompson?" the woman said warmly. "I'm Dorothy Washington, the director here at Safe Harbor. Mr. Moretti called ahead to let us know you were coming. We have a private room ready for you, and whenever you're ready, we can sit down and talk about what happens next. But for now, why don't you come inside, have some tea, and just breathe for a moment?" Maya looked back at Dante, suddenly terrified of being alone, of taking this step without the person who had pushed her toward it. Will you come back? Check on me?" "If you wish me to," Dante said. "But, Miss Thompson, Maya, you do not need me to survive this. You are stronger than you believe. You survived 2 years of abuse. You worked every day despite your fear. You showed up to your job and smiled at customers and hid your pain so well that most people never suspected. That takes remarkable strength. Now you simply need to channel that strength in a different direction, toward healing instead of hiding, toward freedom instead of fear." He pressed a business card into her hand, his own this time, not the shelter's. "If you need anything at all, you call that number, day or night. My people will answer. And Maya, you do not owe me anything for this. This is not a debt. This is simply a person with resources helping another person who needs them, nothing more." But looking into his eyes, Maya suspected it was more than that. Suspected that this powerful, dangerous man had seen something in her worth protecting, worth saving, and for the first time in 2 years, she felt a spark of something she thought was dead. Hope. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for seeing me, for not looking away." "Everyone deserves to be seen," Dante said, "especially those who have become very good at hiding." He nodded politely to Dorothy, then returned to his car. Maya watched until it disappeared around the corner, then turned to face the woman who was waiting patiently at the door. "Ready?" Dorothy asked gently. "No," Maya admitted, "but I think I have to be anyway." "That's exactly the right answer," Dorothy said, holding the door open. "Come on, sweetheart, let's get you somewhere safe." Maya stepped through the doorway, and for the first time in longer than she could remember, she felt like she could breathe. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of counseling sessions, legal consultations, and quiet moments of healing. Safe Harbor provided Maya with everything she needed: a safe room, clothing, healthy meals, and most importantly, the space to begin processing what she had been through. The other women at the shelter shared similar stories, creating a community of survivors who understood without judging, who supported without pitying. Dorothy helped Maya obtain a restraining order against Marcus. Dante's people had indeed retrieved her belongings from the apartment, though Maya never learned the details of how they had managed it. All her important documents, her clothes, her few precious possessions, everything was boxed up and delivered to Safe Harbor within 3 days. Marcus had tried calling her phone 67 times in the first week. Maya had blocked his number on the advice of her counselor. He showed up at Café Luminosa looking for her, but Patricia, perhaps motivated by fear of Dante Moretti, or perhaps by belated concern for her employee, told him Maya no longer worked there and had left no forwarding information. Maya did not return to Café Luminosa. She could not yet, not when the memories of serving coffee while hiding bruises were still so fresh. Instead, Dorothy helped her apply for positions at other establishments, writing letters of recommendation, making calls to business owners who owed Safe Harbor favors. And Dante Moretti kept his promise. He did not appear at the shelter, did not push himself into Maya's recovery process. But every few days, a delivery would arrive. Flowers with a simple card saying, "You are stronger than you know." A box of expensive chocolates with a note reading, "For moments when sweetness is needed." Books on healing and recovery with passages underlined and notes in the margins, clearly read before being gifted. On the 14th day, Maya received a phone call from an unknown number. She almost didn't answer, worried it might be Marcus calling from a different phone, but something made her pick up. "Miss Thompson?" The voice was male, professional, unfamiliar. "My name is Giovanni Ricci. I manage several restaurants in the city, and I have been told by a mutual acquaintance that you are an exceptional waitress in need of employment. I would like to offer you a position at my newest establishment, Bella Notte. The pay is $15 per hour plus tips, full health benefits, and flexible scheduling to accommodate any ongoing counseling or legal appointments you may have. Would you be interested in discussing this opportunity? Maya's hand trembled as she held the phone. $15 an hour was $3 more than Café Luminosa had paid. Full health benefits meant she could finally see a doctor about the anxiety that had plagued her for months. Flexible scheduling meant she could continue her therapy sessions without fear of losing her job. Yes, she said, her voice stronger than it had been in weeks. Yes, I would be very interested in discussing this. Excellent. Can you come in tomorrow at 2 in the afternoon? We are located on 5th Avenue near the theater district. Ask for me specifically when you arrive. After hanging up, Maya sat in her small room at the shelter, staring at the phone, knowing exactly who the mutual acquaintance was. Dante had not just saved her from Marcus. He was continuing to help her build a new life, giving her opportunities to stand on her own feet. She pulled out the business card he had given her, the one with his private number. Before she could second-guess herself, she dialed. He answered on the second ring. Miss Thompson, I trust you are well? I'm getting there, Maya said honestly. I got a call from Giovanni Ricci today. Ah, yes. Giovanni runs excellent establishments. I hope the opportunity interests you. You arranged this? It was not a question. I mentioned to Giovanni that I knew of an exceptional waitress who was between positions, Dante said carefully. What he chose to do with that information was entirely his decision. Why? Maya asked. Why are you doing all this? You don't even know me. I'm just someone who served you coffee. There was a long pause. Then Dante said quietly, When I was 14 and I saved my mother from that man, I swore to myself that I would never again stand by and watch someone suffer when I had the power to help. My business, my family's business, it is not always good, Miss Thompson. We operate in moral gray areas. We do things that would not stand up to ethical scrutiny, but in protecting those who cannot protect themselves, I can use the resources my family has accumulated for something unquestionably good. You needed help. I had the means to provide it. It is as simple as that. It's not simple, Maya said. It's extraordinary, and I don't know how to thank you. You thank me by accepting the job if it suits you, Dante said. You thank me by continuing your therapy, by building a life where you feel safe and valued. You thank me by never accepting less than you deserve from anyone ever again. That is all the thanks I require. I'd like to see you, Maya blurted out before she could stop herself. To thank you in person. Maybe we could have coffee? Somewhere other than Café Luminosa? Another pause, longer this time. Miss Thompson, I do not think that would be wise. Maya's heart sank. Of course. What had she been thinking? A man like Dante Moretti, powerful and sophisticated, would have no interest in someone like her. She had been foolish to suggest it. I understand, she said quickly. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. You misunderstand, Dante interrupted gently. It is not that I do not wish to see you. It is that I do not trust my own motivations. You are vulnerable right now, healing from trauma, and I am a man who is accustomed to getting what he wants. If I were to see you, to spend time with you, I fear I might develop feelings that would not be appropriate given your circumstances. I fear I might become something you feel obligated to, someone else you feel you must please to maintain the help I have provided. And I never want you to feel that way with me, Maya. Never. Maya's breath caught. There was something in his voice, something warm and almost yearning, that suggested his concern was not theoretical. What if I want to see you anyway? She asked quietly. What if I'm not as fragile as you think? What if I just want to have coffee with someone who saw me at my worst and still thought I was worth helping? Then ask me again in a month, Dante said. When you have started your new job, when you have had time to continue healing, when you are standing on your own 2 feet and no longer living in a shelter. Ask me then, when there is no power imbalance, when you owe me nothing, when you are choosing to see me because you want to, not because you feel you should. Can you do that, Bella? Yes, Maya whispered, I can do that. Good. Then I will look forward to your call in a month. Until then, Miss Thompson, be well, be safe, be strong. He hung up and Maya sat holding the phone, a smile playing at her lips despite the tears in her eyes. For the first time in years, she had something to look forward to. Not a man to save her, but a man who respected her enough to wait until she could save herself. 1 month later, Maya stood outside Bella Knot restaurant, adjusting her dress nervously. She had been working there for 3 weeks now, and Giovanni had been true to his word. The pay was excellent, the benefits comprehensive, and her coworkers respectful and kind. She had moved out of Safe Harbor 2 weeks ago into a small studio apartment in a safe neighborhood, furnished with donations from the shelter and her own savings from her new job. She still saw her therapist twice a week, still attended the support group for survivors of domestic violence, still had days when the anxiety threatened to overwhelm her, but she also had good days now. Days when she laughed with her coworkers, when she took pride in her work, when she walked home at night without fear. Days when she looked in the mirror and recognized the woman staring back at her. Someone stronger, someone braver, someone who had survived hell and was learning to live again. She had called Dante that morning, asking if he would meet her for dinner. He had agreed immediately, suggesting Bella Notte, since she already knew she would be comfortable there, since it was neutral territory where she held the power. Now, watching him approach from down the street, impeccably dressed as always, Maya felt her pulse quicken. But it was not fear, it was anticipation. "Miss Thompson," Dante said as he reached her, that slight smile playing at his lips. "You look well. This city life appears to agree with you." "It's Maya," she said. "And yes, I am well. Better than I have been in a very long time." "Maya, then." He offered his arm. "Shall we?" They were seated at a quiet corner table, and over pasta and wine, they talked, really talked. About Maya's new job, her apartment, her ongoing therapy, about Dante's business, the legitimate parts at least, and his family and his mother who was doing well and had remarried a kind man who treated her with respect. "I told her about you," Dante admitted over dessert, "about the woman I helped leave an abusive situation. She asked me if I was in love with you." Maya's breath caught. "What did you tell her?" "I told her I did not know, that I hardly knew you, that we had only ever shared brief conversations over espresso." He paused, his dark eyes serious. "But that was not entirely truthful. The truth is, Maya, I have been half in love with you since the first morning you served me coffee 3 months ago. The way you smiled despite your obvious exhaustion. The way you remembered exactly how I preferred my espresso after only 2 visits. The way you treated every customer with genuine warmth, even the ones who were rude or dismissive." He reached across the table, his hand hovering near hers but not touching, giving her the choice. "I noticed you long before I noticed the bruises, and when I did notice them, when I realized what you were enduring, it took every ounce of self-control I possessed not to find the man hurting you and make him disappear permanently, but I knew that would not help you. You needed safety, not vengeance. You needed support, not violence on your behalf. So I gave you what you needed, even when what I wanted was to protect you in the way I know best." Maya placed her hand over his, feeling the warmth of his skin, the strength in his fingers. "I don't need protection anymore," she said quietly. "I mean, I still need support sometimes, still need people who care about whether I'm okay. But I don't need saving. I saved myself, with your help to open the door. And now I'm here because I want to be, not because I need to be. I'm here because somewhere between espressos and evacuations and flowers sent to a women's shelter, I started caring about the man who saw me when I was invisible to everyone else." Dante's fingers intertwined with hers, his grip gentle but sure. "Then perhaps we can see where this goes? Slowly, carefully, with the understanding that you can walk away at any time, that you owe me nothing, that this is a choice you are making freely." "I would like that," Maya said, smiling genuinely for the first time in longer than she could remember. "I would like that very much." They talked until the restaurant closed, until Giovanni himself came over to tease Dante about keeping his employees past their shift. They walked through the city streets, Dante maintaining a respectful distance, never assuming, never pressuring. When they reached Maya's apartment building, he walked her to the door like a gentleman from another era. "May I see you again?" he asked. "Perhaps dinner again next week?" "Yes," Maya said. "I'd like that." Dante smiled and lifted her hand to his lips, pressing a gentle kiss to her knuckles. "Buona notte, Bella. Sleep well." Maya watched him walk away, then climbed the stairs to her apartment, her heart full. She had started this journey broken and afraid, hiding bruises and hiding from life. She had found salvation in the most unlikely place, in the kindness of a dangerous man who could have ignored her suffering, but chose instead to help. But more than that, she had found herself, had learned that she was stronger than she believed, braver than she knew, worthy of love that did not hurt. And now, standing in her own apartment, safe and free and whole, I understood that sometimes the best love stories were not about being saved by someone else. They were about being seen by someone who helped you find the strength to save yourself. Over the following months, Maya and Dante's relationship grew slowly, carefully, with the kind of intentionality that comes from understanding how fragile trust can be. They had dinner once a week, sometimes at Bella Notte, sometimes at other restaurants Dante introduced her to. They took walks through the city, visited museums, attended concerts. Dante was patient, never pushing for physical intimacy beyond holding her hand, always giving Maya the power to set the pace. 6 months after their first official date, Maya invited Dante to her apartment for the first time. She cooked dinner, nothing fancy, just pasta and salad, and they ate on her small balcony overlooking the city. As the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Dante reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind Maya's ear, his touch achingly gentle. "I need to tell you something," he said quietly, "and I need you to hear me fully before you respond." Maya's heart skipped, but not with fear. She was learning to recognize the difference between anxiety and anticipation. "Okay, I'm listening." "I am in love with you, Maya Thompson," Dante said, his dark eyes serious and warm. "I have been for months now, but I need you to understand what that means. My life, my work, it is not safe. There are people who would use you to hurt me if they knew how much you matter to me. My family's business, while mostly legitimate now, still has connections to things that you might find morally questionable. I can protect you, and I will protect you with everything I have, but I cannot promise you a normal life. I cannot promise you safety from judgment, from whispers, from the reality of being connected to someone like me." He took her hands in his grip firm. "So I'm asking you, before this goes any further, to think carefully about what you want. You have built a good life for yourself. You have a job you enjoy, friends you have made at the shelter support groups, independence you fought hard to achieve. I do not want to complicate that. I do not want to be another person who limits your freedom, even if my intentions are to protect rather than control." Maya was quiet for a long moment, considering his words. He was right. Her life was good now. She had stability, independence, peace. Loving Dante would complicate things, would expose her to dangers she had never imagined when she was just trying to survive Marcus's fists. But it would also give her something she had never expected to find: genuine love with someone who respected her, who saw her as an equal, who would never raise a hand to her or make her feel small. Someone who had proven time and again that her safety and happiness mattered to him more than his own desires. "I love you too," Maya said simply. "And yes, I understand the risks. I understand that your world is complicated and sometimes dangerous. But Dante, I have already survived the worst thing I thought I could survive. I have already faced my greatest fear and come out the other side. I am not the same woman who hid bruises and made excuses. I am someone who knows her own strength now, who knows her own worth. And I choose you. I choose this complicated, imperfect, beautiful thing we have built together. I choose it freely, with full awareness of what it means." Dante's expression softened and he pulled her close, his arms wrapping around her in an embrace that felt like safety and promise and home all at once. "Then I will spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret that choice," he murmured against her hair. "I will protect you, treasure you, stand beside you as you continue to grow into the remarkable woman you were always meant to be." He pulled back just enough to cup her face in his hands, his thumbs gently tracing her cheekbones, the same cheekbones that once bore bruises he had noticed when no one else did. "May I kiss you, Bella?" "Yes," Maya whispered, please." The kiss was gentle at first, tentative, a question and an answer all at once. But as Maya sighed and melted into him, as her hands came up to grip his shoulders, it deepened into something more, a promise, a claim, a declaration that they were choosing each other fully and completely, with all the complications that entailed. When they finally broke apart, both breathing heavily, Dante rested his forehead against hers. "I have wanted to do that since the first morning you served me espresso," he admitted. Maya laughed, the sound bright and free. "I have wanted you to do it since the day you got me out of that apartment, when you called me Bella and told me I deserved better. I think I started falling in love with you right then, even though I was too broken to recognize it." "You were never broken," Dante said firmly. "Hurt, yes. Wounded, absolutely. But broken? No. Something that is broken cannot heal, cannot grow stronger. And you, my Maya, you have done both. You have healed yourself and grown into someone even more remarkable than the woman I first noticed all those months ago." They spent the rest of the evening on the balcony, talking and kissing and making plans for a future that neither of them had expected but both of them wanted desperately. And when Dante finally left in the early hours of the morning, Maya stood at her window and watched him go, her heart full, her life her own, her future bright with possibility. 1 year after Dante had noticed the bruise that changed everything, Maya stood in the kitchen of the home they now shared, a beautiful penthouse apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the entire city. She was preparing espresso using the top-of-the-line machine Dante had installed just for her, humming softly to herself as she worked. Dante emerged from the bedroom, dressed for work in one of his impeccable suits, and wrapped his arms around her from behind, pressing a kiss to her shoulder. "Buongiorno, amore mio. Making coffee for your poor, caffeine-deprived boyfriend?" "Husband, actually," Maya corrected, holding up her left hand where a simple platinum band caught the morning light. They had married 3 months ago, a small ceremony at Safe Harbor with Dorothy officiating and the women Maya had met at the shelter in attendance. Dante's family had been there too. His mother, who had hugged Maya and whispered, "Thank you for loving my son," in her ear. "Ah, yes. How could I forget?" Dante teased, spinning her around to kiss her properly. "My wife, who is far too good for a man like me, but who, for some inexplicable reason, chose me anyway." "I chose you because you saw me," Maya said, the same answer she had given him when he proposed, when he had asked her why she would tie herself to someone with his complicated life. "You saw me when I was trying so hard to be invisible, and you cared enough to help even though you didn't have to, even though I was nothing to you." "You were never nothing," Dante said seriously. "From the first morning, you were someone who mattered. I just did not realize how much until I saw you hurting." Maya handed him his espresso perfectly prepared, exactly as he liked it. Some things had not changed. Dante still drank his morning coffee with the same serious appreciation, but everything else had changed. Maya no longer hid bruises or feared going home. She no longer made excuses or minimized her own worth. She had graduated from therapy, though she still attended her support group monthly, now as someone who mentored newly arrived women at Safe Harbor. She had also started taking classes at the community college, pursuing a degree in social work. Her experience, her survival, her healing, she wanted to use it all to help others the way Dorothy and Dante had helped her. She wanted to be the person who noticed when someone was hiding their pain, who offered the lifeline they were too afraid to reach for themselves. "I have a meeting this morning with a new client," Dante said, sipping his espresso, "but I should be home by 6. Shall I pick up dinner, or would you like to cook?" "Let's cook together," Maya suggested. "You can tell me about your meeting, and I can tell you about the new woman who came to Safe Harbor yesterday. She reminds me of myself a year ago. So scared, so ashamed, so certain she doesn't deserve better." "What did you tell her?" Dante asked. "I told her my story," Maya said. "I told her that 1 year ago I was serving coffee with a split lip and a bruised cheek, certain I had no way out. And now I'm married to a wonderful man, pursuing my education and helping other women find their way to safety. I told her that healing is possible, that love without violence exists, that she deserves better than what she is accepting." Dante set down his espresso cup and pulled Maya close, his arms secure around her. "You are remarkable, you know that? The way you have taken your pain and transformed it into purpose, your suffering into service. I am in awe of you, Maya Moretti." Maya smiled against his chest, still getting used to her new name, still marveling at how much her life had changed. "I had a good teacher. Someone once told me that everyone needs help sometimes, even dangerous mafia bosses. Someone taught me that accepting help is not weakness, it is courage. Someone showed me that love means respect and partnership, not control and fear." "Smart man, this teacher of yours," Dante murmured. "The smartest," Maya agreed. "He noticed a bruise that wasn't there yesterday and decided that my safety was his business. Best decision anyone ever made on my behalf." They stood together in the morning light, two people who had found each other in the most unlikely circumstances, who had built a love based on respect and trust, and the fundamental belief that everyone deserves to feel safe in their own life. Maya's journey from victim to survivor to thriver had not been easy, and she still had days when the memories haunted her, when the anxiety crept back in. But she also had days like this, mornings making espresso for the man she loved, evenings helping other women find their strength, nights falling asleep safe and cherished and free. She had a life she had built for herself, with support from people who cared about her, with courage she had learned she possessed, with love that healed rather than harmed. And it had all started because someone had noticed. Because Dante Moretti had looked at a waitress hiding bruises and had decided that her suffering was unacceptable, that her safety mattered, that she deserved better than what she was accepting. That is the story of Maya Thompson, now Maya Moretti, the woman who learned that sometimes salvation comes from the most unexpected source. Her story proves that healing is possible, that love can be healthy and respectful, and that the bruises we try so hard to hide are often seen by the people who care enough to look. Maya's journey reminds us that abuse thrives in silence and isolation, that asking for help is an act of courage, not weakness, and that sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is exactly the protector you need. Her story shows that survivors can become thrivers, that pain can become purpose, and that the life we build after trauma can be even more beautiful than what we lost. If this story moved you, if you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, please know that help is available. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-7233. Safe Harbor and organizations like it exist in communities across the country, ready to help people escape abusive situations and rebuild their lives. You are not alone. You deserve better. And people like Dorothy and Dante, people who care, who notice, who help, they exist in the real world too. If Maya's story resonated with you, if you believe in the power of noticing when someone is hurting and the courage it takes to help them, please subscribe to this channel. We share stories every week about unexpected protection, dangerous romance, and love that proves safety can be found in the most unlikely places. Comment below and share the moment you realize this was not just about survival, but about learning to thrive again. Remember, sometimes the person who saves you is the one who notices what everyone else chooses to ignore. Sometimes the bruise that was not there yesterday is the beginning of a new life. And sometimes the most dangerous choice is staying silent when someone powerful offers you the courage to speak.